Morning, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Politics Matter, the morning edition. And I stopped by because I wanted to spend a little time talking about the dignity of humanity. When your address defines your worth, exploring why human dignity should never be measured by the home we live in. And this member of parliament, Mr. Isaac Buchanan, made a comment yesterday that troubles me. Here is a comment from Mr. Buchanan. Melissa. All right, let me yeah, I wonder if you can hear it. Let me go ahead.
Has come and gone, and we're in a brand new hurricane season. And just this week, I asked the Prime Minister about these container homes and prefab homes and whatever you want to call it that should have been deployed before December was out as an emergency mechanism instead of this grand idea to turn Jamaica into trailer park trash. And feel how you want, but I maintain the consistency that the issue is delay, and delay is coming from government. Melissa.
So the term trailer park trash is a derogatory term, and it is a slang that is used to insult people, and I think Mr. Buchanan would be well advised to withdraw those comments. Trailer park trash. The fact of the matter is that the debate over temporary housing after a natural disaster is one that deserves careful scrutiny, because citizens have every right to question whether container homes are suitable, whether they are being delivered too late, and whether the government's long-term housing strategy is adequate. These are legitimate policy questions, and one would expect that an opposition would be asking these questions on matters of policy. But when you invoke the phrase trailer park trash, that shifts the discussion from public policy to social prejudice. You don't want to do that, because the expression being used as a slur against people perceived to be poor. Yes, and implying that that one's dignity, one's character, one's worth are determined by the type of dwelling that you occupy. Yeah, such language carries a philosophical assumption that material circumstances define human value. And that assumption is neither morally defensible nor is it consistent with the principles of a democratic society. And the opposition really need to look at how they are communicating the language of the opposition. Because the measure, you see, the measure of civilization is not whether every citizen lives in a grand house. That's not the measure of civilization. The measure of civilization is whether every citizen is treated with equal dignity, regardless of wealth or of circumstances. And that is what politics ought to be about, the upliftment of people. Because a family that is displaced by a hurricane does not become less deserving of respect because they temporarily reside in a container unit or in a shelter or in mobile homes or any other emergency shelter, because any one of us could have lost our roof during Hurricane Melissa. Yeah. If Hurricane Melissa had, landed in Kingston or in St. Catherine, a lot of us would have been affected. Your humanity does not change because you lose your roof. It's like death, It's common to all, and sickness and illness. And history, you see, history repeatedly demonstrates that temporary housing has served communities recovering from wars, earthquakes, hurricanes, and other disasters. The moral question has never been whether the shelter is aesthetically pleasing. It has been whether it protects human life while permanent reconstruction takes place. And if temporary housing becomes permanent because of government neglect, then the failure lies in governance, not in the people who are compelled to move out of their homes into these temporary shelters. Mr. Buchanan is being insensitive, and I think Mr. Buchanan would be well advised to withdraw those comments and apologize. I feel strongly about it. We must be careful of political rhetoric. Political rhetoric carries an ethical responsibility. When you are elected to parliament, you bear an ethical responsibility. Public representatives influence not only policy debates, but also the language through which citizens perceive one another. That is why it rubs me so hard. And when terms associated with social contempt enter the political discourse, they risk stigmatizing the very public. They risk stigmatizing the very people that the public claim to defend. Mr. Buchanan cannot be claiming to defend the people, while at the same time his language is stigmatizing them. And I will make a political point here because it is worth making. The Andrew Holness administration, a lot of times, they have been given basket to carry water. because I have said time and often that the ills, social and economic ills of the Jamaican society should not be blamed on the Holness administration. The administration of Andrew Holness is repairing the breach, correcting the failure of the very party Mr. Buchanan supports. Yeah, you can't treat people with contempt. The victims of Hurricane Melissa should never be made to feel that accepting emergency shelter somehow diminishes their social standing or personal growth. Don't let them feel that way. Don't call their homes trash. Don't do that. They did not put themselves in that position. They are victims of a natural disaster. Like you get sick and you have to go to the hospital. And sometimes the hospitals may not have sufficient bed, and you have to share a bed with another patient. There's nothing devaluing about that. You are ill. When you get better, you go back home at your yard and go back in your king size bed. I believe that a more constructive criticism would ask whether the units are safe, whether they meet health standards, whether communities have access to schools, health care, employment, utilities, etc. Those are legitimate questions that any opposition can ask. These are questions that challenge government policy without casting aspersions on vulnerable families. And this is where the opposition is lacking. They are being pessimistic and overly critical, because ultimately, a society that is committed to justice must reject any idea that dignity is measured by architecture. A house, a container, a mobile phone, or a temporary shelter can protect the body. But none of these define the soul or the value of the person inside it. You ever hear the term butu in a Benz? Respect for human dignity requires us to criticize policies. Criticize the policies where they are necessary. But you must refuse to demean those whose only misfortune was to lose their homes to a natural disaster. Shelter is not shame. Politics must not become prejudicial, because a house does not define the human. Human beings are worth more than real estate. A house doesn't define the human, because dignity is bigger than politics. I would encourage Mr. Buchanan to reconsider his position and withdraw those comments. Thank you for watching. Hello, neighbor. Politics Matter Network. Politics Matter Jamaica. Conversations that matter. Thank you.